Welcome to my channel, All for Health with Jane. Family, we are still having Captain Ntini, the ballistic analyst, on the witness stand. Mr. Ramosepele is the one who is taking him through his cross-examination. Family, it has been announced that the court is going on recess. They will be back on the 7th of October. And we on this video, on this clip that I've attached, let's watch as Mr. Ramosepele is closing the court. He was the last one to cross-examine Captain Ntini. So family, let's go through and just watch. It's a little bit long, this video. I'm sorry about that. But please watch it and enjoy.
As the court places, my lord. Good day, Captain.
Good day, Advocate.
Now, Captain, before we come to the nitty-gritties of why you are here, I want to start first by referring you to your affidavit, Exhibit 000. And then I just want to go through with you on your curriculum vitae. Now, your testimony is that you joined the FSL ballistic section in 2005, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Kuyiqiniso ngishilo ukuthi ke ngijoine ke la FSL ngo 2005.
And then you've mentioned your other academic qualifications, of which I've got no interest. To date, you are roughly 19 years within the ballistic section, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Njengamanje ke iminyaka ewu19 ngisebenza kuona ke ama ballistics.
At 2.1.5 of your affidavit, you state, and I quote, I visited the following firearm and ammunition manufacturers to ascertain the processes that are used in the manufacturing of firearms and ammunition. 2.1.51 Pretoria Metal Pressings, PMP. What do they do?
They manufacture ammunition, my lord.
Le ndawo ke ifundile ke Pretoria Metal Pressings, uSomchem, indawo lezo ezenza inhlamvu.
And ammunition, do they, amongst others, manufacture also 9mm parabellum, 9x9mm parabellum, and 9mm Luger ammunition?
That is correct, my lord.
Na lawa ke lezo ishilo inhlamvu 9mm 9x9mm iLuger nazo bayazenza.
Now, briefly, your excursion there, what did you observe? Just in brief, we not at PMP.
My lord, what we've seen there is how they put the ammunition components together and the testing afterwards, my lord.
Esakubona ke laphana ukuthi ke indlela ke bahlanganisa ngayo ke inhlamvu kanye futhi ke nokutesta ke kamuva.
And were you also at that institution or factory or taught that some items, be it firearms, firearm components, or ammunition that are consecutively manufactured will have later on same marks or striations upon firing? Were you also taught that?
My lord, at PMP they do ammunition. I don't know if they do firearms, my lord.
Oh, okay.
PMP benza ke inhlamvu angazi ukuthi bazenza yini ibhamu.
At 2.1.52 of your affidavit, you also visited Somchem in Cape Town. What do they do?
They also manufacture ammunition, my lord.
Nase Somchem ke Cape Town nabo benza inhlamvu.
And by ammunition we mean your pistol, revolver, ammunition, hunting rifles, and the like.
That is ammunition, my lord.
Inhlamvu ke lezo ama pistol, ama 9mm kanye futhi ke nebhamu enkulu ke ama rifle.
And they don't manufacture firearms at Somkem.
Not to my knowledge, my lord.
Okay.
Ngolwazi lwami ke angazi bezenza ibhamu khona ke eSomkem.
And NGA, New Generation Arm, what do they do?
It's ammunition, my lord, as well.
Na se NGA New Generation Arm na lapho ke inhlamvu.
And I see in your CV, because your career at the time was still in its infancy stage, have you visited manufacturers of ammunition, firearms outside the Republic of South Africa?
No, my lord. I've never visited the ones outside South Africa, my lord.
Angaze ngiyeke kwindawo ke ezingaphandle kwala eNingizimu Afrika ezenza inhlamvu nebhamu.
And at 2.3 of your affidavit, you state that I've attended the following internal and external training interventions. I'm more concerned about the external training interventions. Where did you attend those? What do they entail?
My lord, 2.1.6.1 to 2.1.6.4, my lord. Those were provided by an external provider, my lord.
Uma ubheka ke umele uthi ke la ku2.3 la ushoyo ke khona ukuthi uqeqeshiwe ke ngaphakathi nangaphandle ke ngifuna ukwazi ke lezi ezangaphandle ke maphendula ke uthi ma ubheka ke kuyena ke u2.1.6.1 kuyogcina ke kuyena 2.1.6.4 ilezo ke ezichazayo ukuthi ila engaqeqeshwa khona ngaphandle kwasesiphoyiseni.
Yes, that external service provider, who is that, and when did you attend those interventions that you call them?
My lord, the ones that I've mentioned, I've attended them between 2012 and 2013. And the external provider was Bevel, Gardner and Associates.
Ilezi enkhuluma ngazo ke phakathi kwa2012 no2013 futhi ke sayinikezwa noma zazenziwa yena ke Bevel, Gardner and Associates.
And did you go to Bevel Gardner in the United States, or did they send trainees and workshop presenters here?
No, they've sent them here, my lord.
Ingaba wena waya ke eAmerica noma ke bona ke bathumela abantu la babethumele abantu khona la.
And then at 2.4 of your affidavit, you state that you were declared competent and proficient in the forensic ballistic examination. And I believe yesterday you said this was in 2009. Is that correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Kwakungo 2009 ke manje sengiqedile ukwenza konke ke lokhu la sure ke khona ukuthi manje sengikulungeleke ukuthi umsebenzi lowo wokuhlola ke wona ama forensic ballistics ngawenza.
Now, by being declared competent and proficient, the word proficiency, do you take any proficiency tests before you are declared to be now a forensic ballistic examiner?
I took a competency, my lord. Then after a competency, when I am declared competent, then I will do the proficiency.
Lama testing ke ukuvinywa ke lokhu ngakwenza ke ukuthola ke ukuthi sengikwisimo yini noma ke ngiyakwazi yini ukuthi manje umsebenzi lo ngingawenza lawo ma test lawo ngawenza.
And proficiency test, my lord, is an ongoing thing. I do proficiency testing annually, my lord.
Futhi ke lento ke into engiyenza ke unyaka nonyaka into eqhubekayo ukuthi ke ngibhekwe ke ukuthi ngisona ke isimo yini sokuthi umsebenzi ngawenza.
Yes, you correctly separated them out to say you took first the competency part of the evaluation. What does that entail, the competency one first?
Competency, my lord, in a simple term, is just you are ready to work independently for that particular training level, my lord.
Lena yokuqala ke ila ethi njena ke ubisimo ke sokuthi ungakwazi ukwenza ke umsebenzi uyimele kulo umsebenzi lowo.
But does that entail a written test an oral test, a field coursework test, a practical test. What does that entail?
Correct, my lord. I've written tests, I've written assignments, my lord.
Loko ke kunama test kunama assignment ke engawenza ke.
And then the annual proficiency test. Who's the service provider that is procured to conduct those proficiency tests on behalf of the ballistic section of FSL?
We do proficiency test, my lord, internally. We also we are also involved in something that we call CTS, my lord. That is the one that is just from outside, my lord.
Lama ukubhekwa ke ukuthi ke ukulungeleka ukwenza umsebenzi unyaka nonyaka ke lokho into eyenziwa ngaphakathi ke bese khona ke esikubiza ngokuthi ke iCTS yona ke eyenziwa ngaphandle.
Internally, who evaluates, say for example yourself, when you do the proficiency test?
It's our quality office, my lord.
I-office lethu ke elibizwa ngokuthi ke i-quality office iyona ke ibona ke ngaphakathi ababheka ke noma abasenzisa lawo ma-test lawo.
Comprised of who? That quality office comprised of who? Who are the persons that are in that quality office?
In most cases, the proficiency test, my lord, will get them from Lieutenant Colonel Mangena. Sine? Ntongana.
Umuntu ke ovamise ukuthi ke asenziswe kula ma-test Lieutenant Colonel Ntongana.
And then who is CTS that provides the external arm of the proficiency test?
It also comes from her office. They are the ones that are communicating with those service providers, my lord.
Nalaba bangaphandle ke CTS nale kuya ke office lakhe ke yena ke Ntongana ibona ke abakhuluma nalabo bantu.
And that acronym CTS, what does it stand for?
Collaborative Testing System, my lord.
Collaborative Testing System, CTS umele lokho.
Now you are declared competent and proficient in 2009, having joined in 2005, right?
That is correct, my lord.
Yebo mina ke ngene ngo2005 kwase ukuthi ke ngo2009 ilakushiwa khona ke ukuthi ke umsebenzi ngilungeleke ukuthi ngingawenza.
Does that mean then from 2005 until your certification you were doing work under the supervision of a qualified examiner?
My lord, at my workplace, we've got different levels, my lord. You get training on a certain level, and then you get certified. Then when you go to the other one, the certification goes down. It covers the ones that are on top, my lord.
Thina ke la esebenza khona ke ukuthi ke kuna mazinga ke noma ama levels okuqeqeshwa noma ke training uthola ke i-training ila bese bekunika khona ke certificate noma bekucertify khona ke uma usuhla ke manje sebekucertify futhi ke kuhlanganisa nala angaphezulu.
How long is your initial training period as you enter the Forensic Sciences Laboratory ballistic section?
It took me 4 years, my lord.
Uqeqeshwa mina wangithatha ke iminyaka emine.
Let me see my CV. Yeah, we are now done with your CV. You've testified and you've been cross-examined by my learned colleague, Mr. Gomezu, that you attended the scene on the 27th of October 2014, and by the scene I'm referring to 13511 Kutlano Street, Mzama Section, Fosuaras in Spring View, together with Captain Makati, and by then I think it was still Captain Mangena, now Lieutenant Colonel Mangena, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Kuyiqiniso 27th October 2014 saya khona ke at 13511 Kutlano Street, Mzama Section Fosuaras. Ngihamba naye kwaku captain noma Mangena ngaleso sikhathi manje seku Lieutenant Colonel kanye naye uMahati.
At that time, what was your rank in 2014 October 27?
I was a warrant officer, my lord.
Ngaleso sikhathi leso ke ngangingu warrant officer mina.
And by policy, and standing orders. Warrant officers, whenever they leave for a scene, be it at FSL, LCRC, CRC, they are obliged to have a pocket book with them detailing their movement, their role on a particular matter that they are attending, correct?
At my office, my lord, we are using diaries, my lord. Okay. At that time I was using a diary.
Ngaleso sikhathi ke noma ke umele uthi ke uma warrant officer bakulindeleke ukuthi uma ehamba ke aphatheke lokubizwa ngokuthi phecelezi ke pocket book. Obviously thina ke sisebenzisa ama diary.
Were you using a diary in October 2014 at the time of your visit to the scene on the 27th?
My lord, I cannot recall, but what I know is that when I go to the crime scenes, normally I don't go with the diary, because if it is my scene, there are documents that I will complete, my lord.
Ngabe wawiphethe yini ke idiary ngalelo langa lelo? Angikhumbulike kodwa mina ngokunjwayelo ke uma ngiya ke kwindawo zesigameko mina ke ngihambi nayo idiary ngoba ke akhona ke ama documents ekufanele ngiwagcwalise.
You see, the reason I'm asking you this is that and it's immaterial to me whether it was your scene or not. You were out working on the day, you were paid on the day. These forms that you submitted here, the motor logbook, that's a copy. I know this was for claiming overtime. So you were working on the day. You must account that you were working, and therefore there should be a documentation that shows I was out with Colonel Mangena, we went to a scene, but it's not important, that aspect. The important aspect is this. Under cross-examination from my learned colleague, you are blank as to what you did on that day at 27 at Muzamo section, Fusloras at the scene.
My lord, it's in 2014. Today is 2024. Some of the things I won't recall from my head, and I think it's human not to recall some of the things, because it was not my. If it was my case, my lord, if I was the examiner of the crime scene, then I will be having my own notes and everything, and the statement, my lord.
Kwaku 2014 manje ke siku 2024 futhi ke into ke leyo eyenzekayo ukuthi angeke ke ngikhumbule zonke izinto. Uma kuukuthi kwakuyisini yami ke leyo ngangizoba nayo ke la ngizobhala khona ama notes futhi ngenze ne statement.
I'm not going to belabor this point, but my point is this. Throughout this case, I've seen this tendency and this behavior. Police officers come and testify here. You ask for a pocket book, a diary. One has grown legs, one it was not my scene, so I did not need to fill in. But I'm not going to belabor it. I'm going to argue it at the end of this case. Now, except for what Mr. Ngomezulu asked you, the assistance that you provided to Colonel Mangena on the 27th of October, you cannot add anything more because your memory has become foggy because it's been a while. It's been many years, correct? You cannot add anything to say I was fetching a measuring tape, perhaps I was doing this. You cannot say exactly what you did.
I cannot be specific, my lord.
Angeke ngisho ukuthi yilokho engakwenza ngalelo langa lelo.
Now, there's what's called, when you arrive at the scene, the walking through of the scene by either an SAPS member who was securing the scene or a senior officer that is in charge of that scene to take either LCRC, ballistics, or criminal record center through the scene. Do you remember a Captain Bentley that received you, Captain Mangena, and Captain Makati on the 27th of October 2014?
My lord, as I've alluded that I accompanied Colonel Mangena. So me and Captain Makati, we were following Colonel Mangena. He's the one who knows who contacted him and who is the crime scene manager or whoever who's taking through the scene, my lord.
Nanjengoba ngishilo ukuthi mina kanye nayo Captain Makati sasikhapha simasiphelezela yena ke uColonel Mangena, uyena ke wazi ukuthi ubani owaxhumana naye, uyena wazi ukuthi ubani wayi manager noma ke ephethe isini noma indawo leyo yesigameko.
Yes, I'll take that. Colonel Mangena was his scene, so he was the lead. As Captain Mangena is processing the scene at 13511 Kutlano Street, Mizamo section for Sloras. During the time you are with him, Colonel Makati, Captain Mangena, was there any other police officer that you can recall that was present as now the ballistic section is in charge of processing the scene? Do you recall any police officer from any unit, not from ballistics, it may be any other unit that was present?
A lot, even if I can't say clearly who the person is, but some from CRC,
yes,
or LCRC, there was somebody, if my memory serves me well. But other police officers, we found police officers on arrival, but as who they are, I cannot tell my lord.
Ukhona-ke noma ngeke ngisho ukuthi kwakubani yena-ke wayebuye LCRC wayelapho masamfica khona-ke lapho kanye futhi-ke namanye amaphoyisa ayekhona-ke ngeke ngiwasho ukuthi noma ukuthi angikwazi.
What I know, my lord, further is that when we go to the scene, there should be somebody who is going to point us where the scene is, my lord. We cannot just go inside the scene.
Kunye futhi engikwaziyo ukuthi uma sesiya kwindawo yesigameko kufanele ukuthi abe khona-ke umuntu ozositshengisake indawo leyo yesigameko noma-ke iscene angeke sifana nje thina sivele nje siyingenele.
Yeah, that I've already said. There must be either an SAPS member uniformed or a senior officer that is in charge of the scene that will take you through the walkthrough, whether he's taking LCRC, CRC, ballistics, DNA, whoever. But the question that I'm relating to, there's an officer who made a statement, Exhibit LL1, an officer ABA Sifularo Montwedi, who testified, who deposed to a sworn statement that he's from Provincial Investigative Unit. At the time he was based there, and then that he attended the scene on the 27th of October 2014, and at some stage when the ballistic unit was busy processing the scene, he says the following, and I quote verbatim: Captain Mangena took exhibit of spent cartridge that was found on the door frame, and I close. That's the quotation. The statement has already been read in record in full. Did you observe that? Do you know this person, or did you see this person, Ebu Sifularo Montwedi?
I don't know the person, my lord.
Angmazi-ke lo ofundayo ke lapho uSifularo Montwedi.
And that which he describes in his statement, or that he mentions in his statement to say he saw Captain Mangena removing a spent cartridge found on the door frame at the scene. Did you see that yourself?
I did not see that, my lord.
Uyasho ukuthi wabona-ke uCaptain Mangena esusa-ke igombolondo elisetshenzisiwe-ke iminyango cha angikaze ngikubone lokho noma ngizange ngikubone lokho.
Perhaps you had gone to fetch the measuring tape. Now, let us go to this aspect of your... I'm done now with the scene. I'm not interested whether you attended the post-mortem because you were also an assistant there. That was not your scene, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Now, let us start here. You are approached by Colonel Mangena on the 22nd of July 2020 for an opinion, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
On the 22nd of July 2020, uma ezongcela uvo uColonel Mangena.
What did he give you in order for you to furnish him with an opinion?
He gave me an exhibit bullet and test, my lord.
Wanginika-ke inhlamvu eyatholakala-ke kanye futhi-ke nama-test.
And what else?
Those are the things that he gave me, my lord.
Izona lezo into anginikeza zona.
Did he not give you his case file as well?
The exhibit and test, he took them out from the case file, my lord. He was saving the case file.
lezi ngikhuluma ngazo ngithi anginika zona-ke wayikhipha kwi-case file uyena yayikuyena i-case file.
And at that time, he gave you these exhibits, the case file. Had he written on the case file that he had already made a finding?
I did not see that, my lord.
Ingabe wayesebhalile yini-ke kuleyo file yakho ukuthi yena-ke usetholile noma-ke uthe uma ehlola wathola-ke lokho akuthola angikubonanga lokho?
The answer is twofold. Either he made it, he did not observe it, or he did not make it.
I did not observe it, my lord.
Okay.
I'll just say that.
Angizange ngikubone lokho, ngizosho nje.
Now he gives you test bullets 3 to 10 plus 1 exhibit bullet, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Wanginika-ke lama test-ke u-3 to 10 kanye futhi nenhlamvu-ke eyodwa ekuyiyena-ke eyizibithi.
And your testimony is that firstly you then compare 3 exhibits 3 to 10 intra each other to familiarize yourself with the markings before you conduct a comparison, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Ngishilo ukuthi ngaqala-ke ngawo-ke ama-test lana-ke u-3 uyofika-ke ku-10 ukuyijwayeza-ke ngama-marks lawo ayekhona ngaphambi kokuthi ngiwaqhathanise.
Now, emanating from Mr. Mgomezulu's question, I'm going to exploit further. How long did it take for you, firstly, just to do the comparison between the test fires themselves?
My lord, I cannot specifically say it took me how long, because I was just checking the class characteristics and just to see what kind of marks are there. Yes. So that we must consider that if I'm checking those class characteristics, before I can go and check it against another bullet, I was just verifying that maybe there is another one that doesn't belong to that particular class. So if it doesn't, there's no need for me to put it in for comparison, my lord.
Lana-ke ngeke ngisho ukuthi kwakuyisikhathi esingakanani engasithatha uma sengibheka ama-test wona wodwa-ke okunye futhi kufanele-ke kubhekwe-ke lana ukuthi uma ngibheka-ke ama-test wodwa ngaphambi kokuthi ngiwaqhathanise ukubuka ukuthi ayikho yini engafanele ukuthi ibe lapho yona.
No, that answer is disingenuous. I don't normally tell witnesses that. That answer is disingenuous. Colonel Mangena wouldn't give you exhibits and test fires that do not fit the class, because that will be an elimination from the onset. Therefore, he gave you the right class. In fact, let me pause here. Mr. Jonas, interpret, then I'll give you the background.
No, finish.
Okay. Let me give you the background to this, and I'm not going to delve it in particular whether, but Captain Mangena, firstly, he received 2 test fires, TB1, TB2, that Mr. Ngomezulu asked you about and he said you've never seen. Those 2 test fires were fired in February 2015 by Warrant Officer Rulofse in relation to Cleveland 96 of 2015. That's a case of possession of suspected unlawful firearm. That's the background. Now, upon receipt of the exhibits in this case, he compares those TB1, TB2, and finds that they do not have sufficient marks for him to make a comparison because they are FMJs. And the exhibit bullet in this instance is a CMJ. Then upon being told that a firearm has been found somewhere that may perhaps be linked with this in Cleveland, he goes and fetches the firearm, and in order to validate his test, he says, I must fire bullets made of the same material as the exhibit bullet to wit CMJs. But he fires 8 tests, 2 FMJs, from PNP or PNP, 2 6-hour, 2 ANG, and the others he said he forgot at the time he testified. They are not noted on his worksheet, so they remain of undeterminate manufacture. That's the background to this test that you were given. So you were not given TB1 and TB2 that were fired by Wolofs. But as to the class, when I say you are disingenuous, all of them are 9mm because the alleged firearm is capable of firing 9mm. So the class characteristics are already there. Right? Now let me take it from there. The reason I'm asking you how long it took for you to compare the test fires amongst themselves and to compare the exhibit bullet with all the test fires is the following. Colonel Mangena has testified in this court to say this was a tedious job to do a comparison. Eyes become tired, he will compare some. When the eyes get tired because he doesn't want to make mistakes, he'll pack his work and resume tomorrow or whenever his eyes have been refreshed. You, Fesser Felun Krobla, in a space of, I don't know how many because you can't determine the time that you took, but the 3 of you, within 1 day, that took Colonel Mangena, the seasoned Colonel Mangena, a bit of time to go through and compare to make his conclusions correct, according to him, not according to us, according to him. It took you say how long?
I've never mentioned time, my lord.
Exactly.
Angaze ke ngisisho isikhathi ukuthi ke kwangithatha isikhathi singakanani mina ukuthi ke ngikwenze lokho.
And I don't know the sequence of the opinions that he sought. Were you the first one? Was it Fesser? Was it Krobla? Felyun? I don't know. But within how the day of the 22nd, all 3 of you had already rendered an opinion to Colonel Mangena, irrespective of whether you knew or not that he approached 2 other people, right? On the 22nd, you rendered an opinion to Colonel Mangena on this exhibit. Correct?
I'm listening, my lord.
I'm saying correct.
That is correct.
Kuyiqiniso nge-22 July 2020 ilanga lelo nganikeza ngalo uKolonel Mangena uvo.
Captain Krobla has testified in this court that also herself on that day she rendered an opinion on these findings to Colonel Mangena. So that's undisputed. She's already testified in this court about that. That one I'm telling you is a fact, right?
I'm listening, my lord.
Ngiyakuzwa ke uma uthi uKolonel Krobla naye so Captain Krobla wanikeza naye ngovo ngalelo langa lelo.
The third person, we are told they are incapacitated. So, but be that as it may, they also rendered an opinion to Colonel Mangena on the same day. That's what we've been told by the state. Right. So, hence my insistence that sometimes things like diaries, note-taking, because we are not there at the time we do these things. They come to us later on in trial matters. The court needs to come to the bottom of this matter. You understand? Now, you say you employ the pattern matching method in order to arrive at your decision that there's either one of the 4, there's an inclusion, there's an elimination, there's an inconclusive, and fourthly, there's a not suitable for comparison, that is a damaged either bullet case, cartridge case, or a projectile, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Ngishilo ukuthi ke ubheka ke nokuthola uma ufikele ke kusinqumo ke sebenzisa yona ke lo hlelo olubizwa ngokuthi ke i-pattern matching.
And that pattern matching, you apply it because it's under the auspices of AFTI, that is the International Association for Fire Marks and Examiners and Tool Marks Examiners internationally, right?
That is correct, my lord.
Sebenzisa yona ke ngoba iyona ke engaphansi ke kwalentela noma lo hlelo elibizwa ngokuthi ke yi-AFTI.
Now, I want to break down this pattern matching. I've tried to do it with your colleagues, but it's somewhere I get jaded along the route as they explain. You employ pattern matching, one, to evaluate first the class characteristics of both the known and unknown samples. Will I be correct? Because now here I'm asking you, I'm not giving you my opinion, I'm not a ballistic person. Should I repeat it again?
You can repeat it again.
You employ pattern matching. Firstly, you do it for two reasons, and the first one that I'm giving you is this one. You use it to evaluate the class characteristics of the known and the unknown samples, right?
That is correct.
Lana ke ukubheka ke ama characteristics lana ke alama sample azwayo nala futhi angaziwa.
And then if the class characteristics do not match, for example, if the samples have different numbers, say for example a firearm, as you gave the example of Captain Chrobler, if the length and grooves and the rifling is different, say for example the length and grooves on your specimen are 6 and the rifling is the right twist, and on your test it's 5 and the twist is left, immediately we say no, this is not the class that we are looking for because they are different, right?
That is correct, man.
Nokuthi ke uma usubheka utholeke ukuthi kunomehluko ekhona ke namagolozi ngokwe number ke yalapho ila usho khona ukuthi cha lokho ke akusiyona ke into eyodwa noma kuhlukile.
Now if however the class characteristics match, now that's where you kick in as an examiner, right? You now take the samples, the exhibit bullet or cartridge case and the test fires, you take them now to examine and compare them under the so-called comparison microscope, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Kodwa kuma usuthola ke ukuthi ke kuyahlangana ila usuthatha khona ke manje usuzoyezibheka kuyona ke i-microscope la esiqhathanisa khona.
And at that stage, you use the pattern matching to determine, one, if any marks are subclass or individual characteristics, right?
That is correct, my lord.
Ila manje usubheka khona ukuthi lama marks ke ilama marks ke ama ahlangeneke noma ayihambela ngawodwa.
And secondly, you also look at the level of correspondence between the marks on the specimens, on the exhibit bullet, as in our case, and the test fires, correct?
That is correct, my
Ila
lord.
usubheka khona ke manje ke ukuthi ke futhi ke ne-level noma izinga ke la ukuhlangana khona phakathi kwayo ke inhlamvu le exhibit kanye futhi nama-test.
And having done that, then you will, having compared, you then come to the last stage, which is now to make a conclusion, and those conclusions I've already set them out with you. They are in accordance with the AFTI range of conclusions, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Suqedile ke lapho ila ke manje uya ke manje emaphethelweni ke ukuthi ke utholeni.
And according to what you use as your guide, as your radar, the AFTI theory of identification, it says you can only make a positive identification when there is a sufficient agreement, right, between the two samples, the exhibit bullet and the test fires, to come to a determination that this firearm fired this bullet, the source of energy, correct?
You are correct, my lord.
Ila usuthola khona ke manje ukuthi ke kunokuvumelana okwaneleke ukuthi ngempela ke lenhlamvu ke ekuyiyona iyatholakala kwindawo yesigameko kanye nalezi ezisetshenziswa njengama test ukuthi ke kubuya kwisibhamu esisodwa.
Now, I'm not going to ask you about what sufficient agreement is. You've covered it with my learned colleague, Advocate Sibanda. And I'm not going to ask you about the best agreement. My point is to come to, and you've already said you did not make notes, right? When you did the comparison between the exhibit bullet in this case and the testifiers that were provided by Colonel Mangena, right?
That is correct, my lord.
Now, of TB3 to TB10, which ones? Let me give you imaginary within those. Imaginary TB1, TB3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which one had the best profile of marks that you compared and came to an identification that is a positive match?
My lord, as I've explained that I did not record anything. I cannot recall which one it was, my lord, because I've stated that I did not record anything, and I even got a name. So I did not record anything, and I cannot recall which one.
Bengishilo ke ngaphambilini ukuthi ke umbuzo ke othi yiphi ke kulama test ke okwaba yona ke othola ke ama marks wona ke ongathi wasebenzisa ukuqhathanisa. Ngishilo ngathi ke angibhalanga lutho phansi.
Now, without notes, recordals, worksheets, without charts, we don't know the marks that you saw, because we have procured an expert, and whatever yourself, Colonel Mangena, Fesser, Captain Hrobla said you saw, we were keen to hand them up to our expert and said, for example, Captain Mangena said he compared the exhibit bullet with TB5 and TB9 to make his identification. Colonel Serrao compared the exhibit bullet with TB4, TB8 to come to an inclusion. And further, Serrao expanded his testimony to say between TB4 and TB8, the best profile marks that he saw were on TB8 compared to TB4, and TB8 is an FMJ. So that sort of information directs us to instruct our expert properly, to assist us to come to some sort of evaluation of the ballistic evidence. But without those notes, all we have is what you say now. They understand, there's nothing else, correct?
My lord, as explained previously, that Colonel Serrao, after his verification, wrote down. So he will use that pro forma to refresh his memory. Colonel Mangena also wrote his pro forma as well. So they will use that to refresh their memory. With an opinion, we did not write. We don't write when we are giving an opinion.
Bese ngishilo ke ukuthi ke uKolonel Serrao uzobhala phansi ke kunala abhala phansi khona ke ila akwazi ukuthatha kona ke lokho abheke ukuthi wabhalani. uKolonel Mangena naye ke uzokwenza lokho ubhala phansi ke ila athatha khona abheke. Kodwa kuthina ke abanikeza ngovo akukho esikubhala phansi.
In fact, you said an opinion, it's an informal process. So your testimony here is also an informal process.
I cannot comment on that, my lord.
Now, having given that opinion, you took it to Colonel Mangena. Did you know at the time the nature of the case for which you were providing the opinion?
When I was providing that opinion, I did not know, my lord.
Ngesikhathi enganginikeza ngovo ngaso ngangingazi ukuthi yiliphi icala noma icala ekanjani ke lelo enginikeza uvo kulona.
When did you learn that this was the so-called Senzo Meyiwa case?
He told me after I've done the microscopic opinion, my lord.
Wasengitshela kamuva ke sengikwenzile ke uqhathanisa lokho kuyona imicroscope ukuthi lona ke icala lika Senzo.
That will be on the 22nd of July 2020.
I should think, yes, my lord, it was on that day.
Yebo
Same day.
kwangalo langa lelo ke langa 22 July 2020.
So for you, the wheel had come full circle. You'd attended the scene. Now you are giving an opinion on the bullet from that particular scene. You see that? The wheel has come full circle. For you.
I don't understand the meaning of this, my lord.
It's English, it's fine. Now, you mentioned, I believe, in your evidence in chief that Colonel Mangena, besides being one of your superiors, and superiors I mean at work, he was also your mentor, correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Ngishilo ke ukuthi ke uKenel Mangena ke wakuyena ke owaye ngibonisa ke lebonga ukuthiwa phecelezi ke imentor emsebenzini.
Now, in this instance, the mentor says to the mentee, have a look here. Give me your 2 cents worth on these findings. And lo and behold, the mentee comes with the same conclusions and findings that the mentor had arrived at.
My lord, I can be a mentee, but I'm qualified.
Lana ke lona ekuyena ke obonisayo ke noma ke ofundisayo uza ke kulona ke amfundisayo ukuthi ke awumbhekele lana ke usho ke wena ukuthi olakho ukuthini kodwa ke mase ubuya ke wena ke ofundiswayo kulo okufundisayo uthi imiphumela ke iyafana. Yebo ngingawuyena ke lo oqeqeshwayo noma ke oboniswayo ofundiswayo kodwa ke nami ngiseqophelweni lokuthi ke umsebenzi ngingawenza.
And lastly, on this aspect, it says you arrive the theory of identification, and examiner arrives at a conclusion based on scientific principles, their experience and judgment, correct?
That is correct, man.
And there's a provision to that which says that arrival using those, the scientific principles, the experience and the knowledge is subjective, right?
That is correct, my lord.
Futhi ke lo msebenzi ke noma ke lokho ofinyelela kona ke kuyinto ke esingabheka noma engabukwa.
Now, the interpretation of those marks and striations between the exhibit bullet and test fires 3 to 10, according to that last principle of identification, which says it's subjective, another examiner may look at the same samples and arrive at the different conclusions based on the third principle, correct?
That is correct. It will depend on his level of expertise and experience, skills and training, my lord.
Lokho kuthi ke omunye ke ucwaningi usengabheka ke lokho afinyeleleke kokuhlukile kunalokho uthi yebo kuyiqiniso kuya ngokuthi ke ulwazi lwakhe ke analo noma ke useqophelweni yini ukumayela nomsebenzi lowo.
On that aspect, like I told you, we've retained Mr. Dave Peterson. Do you know him?
If he's the one that he once worked at ballistics, then I know him.
Uma Dave Peterson kulona ke wake wasebenza ballistics ngiyamazi.
He's the same one. We've retained him to assist us regarding ballistics in this matter. He came to court and an order was made by the court that he must have access to the ballistic material and samples that you had, including exhibit TB1, TB2 that you did not have access to. And then him, Colonel Gininda, Brigadier Gininda, the investigating officer in this case, and Colonel Mangena attended at the forensic hub, which is Mr. Peterson's business, for him to do what you did, go through microscopic work in his office, and then finish us with an opinion. And the opinion that he has arrived at, and it's based on your last answer to say, based on another examiner's knowledge, skill, scientific principles, he can arrive at a different conclusion. And indeed, he arrived at a different conclusion to say, this is an inconclusive finding, because what he found was the following. There were discernible class characteristics that he found. He does not quiver or argue with that. But he says the individual marks that he saw were insufficient for him to make it inconclusive. Therefore, he cannot say either or the firearm in question in this case fired the exhibit bullet in this case. Do you want to comment on that?
No comment on that one, my lord.
Akukho engakusho uma uthi ke yena ke uDave Peters wathola ke ngokwahlukileke kuloko sakuthola ke ngoba yena ke esithi ke kwakunganele nokuthi ke ama marks ke yena ke awabona ke aye nganele manje ke isibhamu lesi kukhulunywa ngaso akusona ke esadubula ke akukho engakusho la.
My lord, thank you. I'm indebted to the court.
Yes, sir.
Those are the questions that I had for the witness.
Yeah. Yes.